Mr. Kenneth Lau. Madam Deputy, the budget this year is about reform and innovation. There are measures on containing costs and boosting revenue. The government adopted Heng Yikok's idea of regulating basketball betting, and there's also a proposal to charge air passengers departure tax and also a review of government charges. There will be a smaller rebate of the salaries tax. The Financial Secretary has also pledged to honor the principle of user pays and those with more paying more. Not everyone is happy with some measures, and there will be some pain. But we have a deficit of $87.2 billion, and also we have the tariff war started by the US, and that has led to financial chaos and panic across the globe. So the government here has to take tough decisions to contain costs. Heng Yikok believes as we cut costs, we should keep investing to pursue development so that Hong Kong becomes more prosperous. The US has doubled down on its efforts to keep us down. Yesterday, we had the National Security Education Day. Director Xia Balong of the Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office made it clear that the sky would not fall. Heng Yikok agrees. The US is trying to bully everyone, and that will not shake our resolve. And that will, in contrast, rally people together. There was a time we fought the US in Korea, and we will show the same kind of resolve again. We should be ready to fight, and we should support the government in fighting back against foreign interference. With the leadership of the central government, no effort will succeed in undermining our competitiveness. People will simply show greater solidarity. Given these tough times, the government has proposed a pay freeze for everyone in the executive branch, the judiciary, the legislature, and the district councils. And this is the first time that such a decision has been made before the pay survey started, and that shows the government's resolve to ride out the tough times together with the people. Civil service pay makes up a quarter of our recruitment expenditure, and that's roughly $150 billion, up $7.1 billion year on year. For the next 2 financial years, there will be a 2% cut each year. By the 1st of April 2027, 10,000 posts will be deleted. We have an establishment of roughly 190,000 posts, but the strength is only 173,000 workers. The vacancy rate is 10%. Still, there is room for streamlining the civil service. We should be optimizing resource allocation. We have professional civil servants. We shouldn't affect the quality of service by trimming the civil service. We should be taking this opportunity to foster a smart government. Let's streamline procedures and reprioritize tasks for greater efficiency. Public finances are strained. We can only work with finite resources, so public money should be well spent. There are community calls for reform to the $2 scheme. The scheme will cost $4.4 billion this year, and it will cost $5.4 billion next year. Some seniors take long-haul route for short trips, and that leads to massive government subsidies, and that means waste. Given the aging population, this $2 scheme is unsustainable. I thank the Financial Secretary for adopting Heng Yikok's suggestion. By adopting this middle ground solution, people who qualify now will still qualify in the future. And that upholds the original intention of the scheme. We can still encourage a more active lifestyle. But we can also fix the problem of taking long-haul routes for short trips. We will be able to save $680 million per year, and that will be good for financial sustainability. Now, on the property market, we should restore public confidence in the market. At the Central Economic Work Conference this year, the message was to stabilize the property and stock markets, and there was mention of support to help rally the property market. Our country takes this seriously. Our property market is a key source of revenue for the government. A weak property market will affect not just people, but also the revenue from stamp duty for the government. And that also hurts the economy and holds back our development. So when the property market suffers, everyone else suffers together. So everyone wants to see the property market to recover. The budget proposes a measure to charge $100 in AVD for flats up to $4 million, up from $3 million. The land registry shows in March this year, there were 5,000 transactions in first-hand and second-hand properties. Before this announcement was made, we saw only 3,000 transactions altogether. That shows this new measure is good for the property market. We want recovery. We want a healthy property market. The government needs to make it clear and inspire confidence among property developers. So my suggestion is, let's relax the requirements, the restrictions for incoming investors, and also make it easier for people to buy flats. And let's reintroduce the application system for land sale for the Northern Metropolis. Let's allow developers to pay the land premium in installments so that they're willing to buy or bid for land in the NM. Article 107 of the Basic Law says we should spend within our means. We should strive for fiscal balance. Our deficit this year is $87.2 billion, and that's worse than the years before. There are concerns in the community. People are calling for a reduction in expenditure and investment. But over time, that will lead to deflation. This will also snowball. We get into a vicious cycle. Director Xia Baolong from the Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office said this during the two sessions. Our fiscal deficit is only moderate in the context of other advanced economies. Hong Kong is an important financial center and a key economic player in the global scene. We have strong reserves. We have good infrastructure. In 2024, our debt to GDP ratio was only 9.3%. Singapore and Japan have debt to GDP ratios of over 100, even 200%. So we still have what it takes to develop our economy. So let's do what we do best. The government is trying to issue bonds for financing for the Northern Metropolis and other infrastructure projects. And that's right. Let's create more revenue. Let's fix the deficit. I so submit. I support the bill.
Mr. Tan Yuehen. Thank you, Madam Deputy. The budget sets out the clear relationship between cutting budget and create new sources of revenue. This shows that the government is determined to enhance our financial strength. We have measures on improving our financial resources and cutting the establishment of civil servants. The government stresses reformation and new quality productive forces. Overall speaking, the budget has struck a balance between development and conservation of financial resources, I will make 2 points. First, we must strengthen our investment in INT. There should be greater room for development of the sector. We have a separate chapter of that in the budget. It covers AI, development, patient capital, and other measures. This shows that the government is determined to transform the INT sector in Hong Kong. Against the current background, Hong Kong must think out of the box. We should look into developing Hong Kong, leveraging on INT. President Xi, in the 2 sessions, delivered a speech, and he focuses on INT. On the 30th of March, Qiu Si magazine published a speech given by our president on INT. I think that this shows the importance of INT in the modernization of our country. This has also given us a direction in our development. In recent years, when we have been working on creating an INT ecosystem, we have achieved results. We have a Race Plus scheme, new industrialization scheme, accelerator scheme, semiconductor, AI, new materials, new energy development. We have established a microelectronics centers, and we have set aside $1 billion to establish a AI R&D institute. That's how we build a INT ecosystem. In the course of development, some people criticize or question the investment that we put into INT, and they wonder if it's worth it. But I don't think that we are investing enough in INT. If you look at the expenditure percentage of INT, well, actually, education and medical services take up the largest percentage. Over the past 2 years, welfare and medical services account for 16% and 50% of the overall expenditure. In 2023, the INT expenditure account for only less than 10% in the past and 7% last year. The ratio for INT itself is even lower. Compared to other advanced economies, in 2023, the total R&D expenditure is just $330 million. That's account for 1.1% of the GDP only. The ratio for Israel is 6.02%, Korea 6%, US 3.59%. In recent years, Shenzhen and Guangzhou cities have invested much in INT. In 2024, for Shenzhen, they invested 223 yuan, and that accounts for 6% of their GDP. Guangzhou, they invested over 100 billion yuan in INT. For Shanghai, the percentage of investment in INT is 4.4%. So if we look at the expenditure of INT compared to other cities, our ratio of investment is low. Development of INT is a long-term journey, and it requires long-term investment. I'm glad that the government has taken on board our suggestions by developing a patient capital, consolidating long-term finance, leveraging on various tools to attract private investment, to build a multi-layered and a sustainable pool of capital. I think that in the coming few years, the government should increase investment in INT. Second, we must leverage the use of INT in the financial market. The government is now reforming the listing regime and improving the mutual access program. I am concerned about the trading volume of the stock market. And I'm also concerned about the stamp duty of stock transactions. The trading volume affect the revenue of the government. In 2023-24, the revenue of stock stamp duty account for 6.7% of the government revenue. In 2025-26, the number will be $67.6 billion. I believe that the stamp duty revenue take up a large portion of the revenue. The trading volume is about $300 billion, sometimes $400 billion per day. Buyers and sellers of stock have to pay 0.1% of stamp duty per transaction. Some $300 million can be generated in terms of stamp duty per day. By raising the stamp duty, that will enhance the position as an international financial hub and increase government revenue. INT is a way for us to also consolidate our position and vitalize the financial market. The trading volume of stock market has increased, and that's because of AI. In the future, we must continue to attract quality INT enterprises to come list here to change the structure of our stock market and create a brand new ecosystem. This will empower the development of the financial market. We must make use of fintech and upgrade the traditional financial industries. We should look into digital financial assets and develop new products and new ecosystems. We are now issuing stable coins, virtual assets. We should roll out sandbox and new regulatory regime so that we can become a leader in the fintech market. I think that at appropriate juncture, we should replace the word virtual in the word virtual assets with some other wordings to attract more talents to join the sector. And we should rename it to digital assets instead. Madam Deputy, I so speak in support of the Appropriation Bill 2025. Thank you. Ms. Chen Yip-ming. Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Deputy, I speak in support of the Appropriation Bill 2025. 2025 has been a stable year for us. We have now expanded the multiple entry visa schemes to more cities, and we have seen an increase in the number of visitors from mainland by 45 million people. That's an increase of 30%. On the 24th of September last year, many government departments in the mainland rolled out measures to support the high-quality development of our country. DeepSeek was published and announced, and that shocked the world. This has driven the capital assets of capital market of our city, and we've seen an increase in the trading volume. This has highlighted our strengths, but we are faced with many challenges. Unstable geopolitical and landscape has brought about uncertainties to our market. The government has been recording fiscal deficit. We have to cut expenditure. But we have to have regards to the impact to the livelihood of the people. Now, the spending patterns of the people have been changing, and this has dealt a blow to our local retail market. According to a study, it is said that we should think out of the box and go for breakthroughs. I think that we should develop new quality productive forces. We should set AI as our strategic industry. I have been advocating for low-altitude economy and life and health technology. We must expedite the construction of infrastructures in the northern metropolis as well. In the budget, it is said that we should seize opportunities to develop a life and health industry. I support it. Our position has always been clear, but we should maintain our position as an international financial logistics INT hub. With the concerted efforts of various sectors, even with the trade war launched by the US, we should be able to play a role as a super connector and super value adder to grasp new opportunities and generate new demand. I'm confident in the development of our city. I have 2 comments on the budget. First, we should develop a Northern Metropolis Development Ordinance. In 2021, the government rolled out a strategy for the development of Northern Metropolis, but the progress is not satisfactory. The technology is advancing, but we have to wait perhaps 10 years' time before we can see infrastructures ready in the Northern Metropolis. I'm worried that we may not be able to catch up. This is because of our system that is not able to keep up with the times. Despite the government efforts to speed up construction, because of various constraints with procedures and lack of policies to attract investments, this has undermined the progress of the Northern Metropolis. I support the position of the NMS, the SAR within an SAR, and I have been asking the government to establish a dedicated ordinance for the development of the Northern Metropolis, remove barriers, streamline procedures, relax requirements, speed up the development. We should adopt a new innovative approach for its development. We should accord more functions to the Northern Metropolis. We should engage more policy bureaus. We should attract more enterprises and capital. By this, we will be able to speed up the construction. Under the leadership of the Financial Secretary and the Chief Executive, we should be able to enhance the implementation approach for the Northern Metropolis. Second, we must introduce a district-based development approach. The Development Bureau talked about using a large-scale land disposal approach to develop tourism in Hong Kong. We should leverage on the local characteristics of villages and new territories to develop the industry. The government has been relying on residential developments to raise revenue. I think that the eco-recreation hubs is a new idea. I think that we need new industries and areas that are themed on INT. I think Sandy Ridge should be a pilot area. I hope that the government will give us more details. For sports culture and tourism development, we can develop such in the northern part of New Territories, and we should create a ecosystem, well-being, village style, culture, historic, cross-boundary tourism, and establish a world-class tourism hub. Mr. Xia Baolong said that we should develop tourism everywhere in Hong Kong. Robin's Nest, Shuttlecock, Yan Chao Tong have abundant cultural and natural resources. We should create a boutique itinerary using these areas. The development of a tourism circle towards the east of Northern Metropolis is developing the slowest. We don't see any progress. The Robin's Nest Country Parks was designated last year. With the improvement of infrastructures there will be more hikers visiting the country park. I see that people from Shenzhen and other cities in the Greater Bay Area have been coming to the Robin's Nest Country Park. However, I think that the infrastructures and facilities cannot catch up. We don't have enough commercial facilities around the country park. We need to turn the visitors into revenue. Yantian, Shenzhen they are establishing a harborfront tourist center. I think that we should work with the Shenzhen municipal governments to create a tourism circle. Robin's Nest is connected to Wutong Mountain, and there is a ecological corridor connecting to two places, and we have a world-class geopark in Hong Kong. A shuttlecock wet market. I see many nice store owners. They will be able to tell the history of the district. I think that we should learn from the harborfront tourism area in Yantian, Shenzhen, so that we can work together with other cities. Thank you.
Mr. Chen Yong. Thank you, Deputy President. On the whole, I support the budget. Yesterday was the National Security Education Day, actually the 10th anniversary of the establishment of the Education Day. And I just heard that the outrageous US president has decided to further increase tariff against our country to 240%. This will, of course, have an impact on global economy and also our equity market. But like President Xi and Mr. Xia said, they don't just want to impose tariff, they are after our own very survival. And that is why we must remain steadfast and fight against them until we have victory in the end, because we have a shared future. And Hong Kong, as one of the cities of our country, must give play to our role. That is, we must uphold international justice as one of the cities in our country. And Chief Executive Mr. John Lee also said that whilst the government strives for economic development and improve people's livelihood, we must also have regard to national security. We must not make compromises. We must not submit to unfair treatment, because things will be worse for us. In the end of different dynasties in ancient China, we had the similar experience. We were insulted because we submitted to pressure. So at present, we are involved in this trade war, and this is exactly because our country is powerful. Our enemy has to resort to this tactic, and that is why, for this budget, we need to give our unanimous support. In fact, the government heeded our views in drawing up this budget, and the government should continue to improve the budget. But then, at the time of drawing up the budget, President Trump hasn't imposed a 245% tariff on China. And in the face of the current development, we should forge a greater tie with other countries such as the Southeast Asian countries. And in fact, President Xi is now paying a visit to Malaysia, Cambodia, Vietnam, and Laos. And we need to further improve our ties with these countries so as to tap business opportunities. There are countries in the West, such as the United States, that are not really very friendly to us, and that is why we need to expand our network to tackle the challenge. The government, the business sector, and everybody in the community should all stand firm. The other point about this budget is that it carries significance. This budget provides steer to the future development of Hong Kong. For years, we've run into deficits, and now, under the reinforced version of the fiscal consolidation program, the government will slash spending by 7% until and this is the target for 2030. Meanwhile, government officials are all working as one to enhance efficiency and speed. With a reduced establishment, the government is working as efficiently. So I appreciate that. At the same time, whilst we pull our purse strings tight, we need to make sure that public services and livelihood-related services are not compromised in terms of quality. So I have some suggestions for the government in light of the latest situation. I do hope that some of the measures can be improved for the sake of cost effectiveness. So like I always say, we should enhance speed, efficiency, we should do it cost effectively. One of my suggestions is major publicity. In fact, this year marks the 80th anniversary of the Victory Day of the War of Resistance, and we need to tell good stories about how we defended our country and our home. This is a major event. We also will be celebrating the National Day, the establishment of the Hong Kong SAR, the National Games, and towards the end of this year, we have elections coming up. So, like Mr. Zhang, the Secretary, said, we should build a consolidated platform for publicity so that we tell others about the series of events in a cost-effective way. So, this is a very good suggestion. I think is worthy of members' support. Using this same platform, we can achieve this effect of 1 + 1 is bigger than 2, so that this platform provides an opportunity for cross-bureau interdepartmental collaboration on publicity's front, and that we can also support the development of, say, the panda economy, so on and so forth. My other suggestion is this. If we have an integrated platform for publicity, we can drive up the hype, and then by the end of the year, people will be excited about fulfilling their civic duties as electors. But before that, we need to publicize other major events to promote our economy. We also need to be able to attract overseas visitors to come and see for themselves the advantages and the beauty of Hong Kong, including our democratic system. The other point is about fostering exchanges in the Greater Bay Area, and that we should stay united in striving for economic development. Now, the ETOs and the mainland officers have done their best. Still, more information should be provided in a consolidated manner about the latest market information, policies, etc. They should also reach out to the clansmen's associations in different places so that the same office can provide a one-stop service for the sectors. We also have other policies such as allowing Hong Kong vehicles to travel northbound and vice versa. Nowadays, we have professionals and the middle class driving up north, and they fork out money in order to learn more about their country, like Ms. Starry Lee, the Deputy President. This is something that we should promote further. The other initiative is to allow vehicles from the mainland to come southward, down south to Hong Kong. Of course, we can charge them fees at the boundary. We can also charge the airport passenger departure tax of $200. But this may deter visitors. So we should adopt an alternative strategy. That is, we should invite and attract more visitors to come in order to generate economic benefits for us. Another suggestion, and this is the third one, smart government. To enhance governance, we should hold the purse strings tight if necessary. Now, I support investing in high-end technology. However, there's a project in Hoiting Road. We're spending $2 billion on building automated parking spaces. I don't think this is value for money. I support trying out autonomous driving at the airport. So the money saved can be spent in other areas more worthwhile. And also there are projects and telling expenditure of $100–200 million. Some projects can be delayed a little bit in order to help improve people's livelihood, so as to achieve a better result, so that with money saved we can indeed improve people's livelihood. I support the budget. Thank you. Mrs. Regina Ip. Thank you, Deputy President. Now the U.S. has waged a outrageous trade war against our country, and in fact other members already touched on the issue of trade war. So I think we should come back to this budget. In the face of outrageous oppression coming from the United States, we should stand firm and make sure that we get our own job done. And that means we should exercise fiscal management to make sure that our resources are spent on areas most needed. And this is one way to face up to the bullies. Now we are running into a huge deficit. The major spending areas include education, healthcare, and welfare. The Financial Secretary has proposed measures to cut some welfare and healthcare related expenditure, and the fees and charges in the public healthcare sector will also go up in order to address the deficit issue. Now, however, apart from the three major areas of spending, such as healthcare, education, welfare, we've recently noticed that the expenditure on the civil service itself is quite huge. In fact, in 2024-25, the figure stood at $163 billion, up by 70%. So among the $163 billion of spending, some $100 billion are spent on personal emoluments, and also some $8.4 billion on pensions, and I'm one of the beneficiaries. In fact, for those recruited after the 1st of June year 2000, they no longer enjoy pension, but then it's still a huge expenditure because of longevity of the population. Now, this is a huge sum according to the budget. In 2025, the civil service establishment had the size of 195,000. In 2026, it will come down slightly to 1,904,000. We have 7 million in our population, and 195,000 are civil servants. In Singapore, with a population of 5.8 million, only 86,000 of them are civil servants. Now, we have a huge civil service establishment. According to the government's reply at the special FC session, in Singapore, they have government staff outside of the establishment, but likewise we have the Hospital Authority, Airport Authority, Hong Kong TDC, West Kowloon Cultural District Authority, etc. So is it necessary to maintain such a big establishment in the civil service despite all these other statutory bodies? Now, I see that the secretary is away at the moment. She was here now, and I remember her answering that we couldn't cut more than 1%. Why not? We can leverage on technology. And in fact, in the recent media reports, it was said that along with Dr. Junior Ho, I was going after one of the government departments, but in fact I never joined hands with Dr. Junior Ho in mounting whatever tactics against whatever department. We are on nodding terms only, and I'm just interested in the same department, and I never sat down and talked to him about the this particular department. But I just feel that with technological advancements, there is a chance to slim down the establishment. And in fact, according to a recent article in a magazine, it is said that our country has been able to have technological breakthroughs because they've adopted this Belgian economist called Joseph Schumpeter, and that the expert is an Austrian economist, and he embraces a very creative concept. I asked DeepSeek what it meant. It means in this capitalist society, we place emphasis on new products and new markets, and the spirit of capitalism is to disrupt and overturn traditional industries for new industries to emerge. So it's called creative emerging and creative destruction. That is why China is not afraid of other countries' oppression, because we continue to have something emerging out of the existing ones. Now, many members talked about the low altitude economy, or LAE. And definitely, if we are to take forward the development of low-altitude economy, some traditional industries will be inevitably, affected. Another example is retail industry and also transportation. Just now, the other member talked about allowing a two-way flow of private cars between Hong Kong and China, and inevitably, the retail industry in Hong Kong will bear the brunt. There is a need to take forward reform. There are suggestions that the civil servants should face a pay cut of up to 10%. That's not really the crux of the matter. The crux is whether we need such a big establishment of 190,000 civil servants. And according to government reports, for a long time, over 10,000 of these vacancies posts remain vacant. And of last year, 18,900 posts were vacant. So in fact, it's not difficult to slash 10,000 posts because they are vacant anyway. So my first question is the size of the civil service establishment. The other question is there is a need to reform the structure, such as the administrative officer grade. I was one of them. And as we all know, we have a very high starting point. Deputy President, for a new AO, he earns $60,000 for a start. Now, isn't it excessively high? Because they're supposed to be trainees. If you ask Swire, HSBC, Jardines, the trainees don't earn as much. How much again? Well, my starting pay was $3,000. Is it really necessary to offer $60,000 to newbies? Because if you're to attract talents, you can just offer $40,000 and have the same talents coming in. The government is not going to review this structure. But the point is, for the administrative officer grade, when you reach D6 or D8 directorate grade, well, let's not compare to the fat cats in the business sector. They pay a lot of taxes. Now let's compare this AO grade, directorate grade, with, say, the CEO of WKCD. They earn millions of dollars annually. So that is because that is exactly why the higher ranking AOs are all turning to the private sector. They join the WKCD and other statutory bodies. So that's another question. The third question is ACO, Assistant Clerical Officer, and the entry requirement is not high. I've been told by many that they'd like to join the clerical grade or clerical assistant grade as well, because, after years of service, they can be promoted from ACO to clerical officers, and they'll be earning $60,000. So I think that the government should review the this arrangement because many university graduates also apply for the position of ACO, and it's a waste of their qualifications. Now, days ago, when Mr. Peter Shiu discussed manpower, it was said that by 2028 will be short of 180,000 in our workforce. So university graduates should take up posts appropriate to their or pegged to their academic qualifications. They should not lie flat at the outset. So we should abide by this concept, also embraced by our country, and that is creative disruption. We need to break new grounds. We need to make breakthroughs like Naja.
Mr. Duncan Chiu. Thank you, Madam Deputy. I speak in support of the Appropriation Bill 2025. The Trump administration of the U.S. imposed tariffs. They're trying to bully everyone, and they introduced uncertainty into the world. The world has become a volatile place, and it's also a heavy blow coming from the tariffs. And every country has to replan because of what the Trump administration did. So what do we in Hong Kong do? We want Hong Kong to become an international INT center. That's just one small step. Our real mission should be to help our country to become a tech leader in the world. There's a crisis, but there are opportunities. As we know, we have held many events. In March and April, we had events, summits on tech and the economy. We brought together the brightest minds from across the world. We had different leaders in different fields. We had scholars. We have been promoting INT, and these brilliant minds came here because of that. I got in touch with scholars from different countries, and these are people in university research. These are the best experts in different fields, and they take an interest in Hong Kong. We are a city of talent. We are where the East meets the West. We offer this kind of lifestyle. We also have finance. We're trying to develop INT. We're going to invest in education. So opportunities abound in Hong Kong. And we have drawn experts from different areas. They take an interest in Hong Kong given this volatile global landscape. They want to be part of our INT development. You should never skimp on education, even if you're short of resources. You should invest in education no matter what. Given the global changes, we should not skimp on education. And we should not skimp on INT either. Many electrical members are saying we should economize, we have a fiscal deficit. But we're just getting started with investing in INT. Yes, we have a huge fiscal deficit. But let's get one thing clear. INT is a long-term undertaking, and it will be very important for Hong Kong and for our country. We should keep investing in INT and the talent for INT. The history over the past few decades shows that if you can bring in the tech talent, you have the capital. You will become the next tech hub, and you will be the next leading country of the world. That's why with the Northern Metropolis, we have land, we also have tech emission schemes, but we're only getting started on talent. I can see many bright minds who came here recently. And then in the US, since Trump took office, they slashed federal research funds. They slashed funding for NIH. They slashed billions of funding. And then for NASA, they also halved their funding. The NSF also had its funding cut by 2/3. Many federal employees, in fact, many federal researchers were laid off. The tariffs also led to a jump in their research costs. A US survey talked to 1,000 people. Many of them said they would consider leaving the U.S. 2,000 U.S. scientists also put out an open letter in March this year. They called on the president to stop the all-out assault on scientific research in the U.S. Many U.S. scientists are not Americans. They have other nationalities. Many such researchers take an interest in Hong Kong. I have met quite a number of them recently. I met with these scholars. I told them about Hong Kong's projects. I told them about Race Plus, our funding schemes. I told them about the Global STEM professorship scheme. These scientists, researchers have never heard of our schemes, and once they learned about our schemes, and they found our policies attractive. So, can we think about this? Can we take a step further? Can we promote these policies? Can we attract these top-notch scientists and tech talent to come here? Let's do more on that. Talent aside, we also need more INT teams to come here. We need them to here and they can grow here. We're trying to get businesses to come here. We want more tech businesses and tech teams to come here. We have Oasis. Invest Hong Kong is also doing its work. The feedback is that, say, when you look at a rival of ours like Singapore, we try to attract businesses, we try to follow up. There's much we can improve on. In Singapore, they have a single authority. They offer a clear narrative to interested businesses. And Singapore offers follow-up across the entire journey. Singapore checks in with the businesses. They find out how those businesses are doing. They find out what more policy support Singapore can give. Over here, we get the business to come here. The business is here. And then we fall short when it comes to follow-up. So, in our business attraction policy, can we do more? Some barriers have yet to be broken down. If we can achieve that, we want to think about this. Let's find out where we can do better. Bringing in capital matters. We also need capital. Do we have enough investors? World-class research teams go to the Silicon Valley. They go to Shenzhen. One key reason is the large pool of capital available at different stages in different fields. And there are different ways for businesses to pull out. We have reformed our listing regime. That helps. But for tech firms, they are also often involved in mergers and acquisitions. So we need delisting options for these tech teams. There are shortcomings in our local landscape. Now, we have been talking about venture debt, but that's absent in Hong Kong. We're still behind other INT centers when it comes to early investors. Investors who invest in tech businesses early on. Now, we have seen changes. Hong Kong Investment Corporation has invested in over 100 projects, and they're moving faster. We also have the 10 billion INT orientation fund. But that fund won't be available until 2026-27. So that's too far into the future for possible businesses and tech teams looking to come here. So can we launch that INT industry-oriented fund within next year, that will matter a great deal to businesses looking to come here. For Hong Kong, for our industries, for our INT hub, let's not skimp on INT. We need to move with speed as we launch policies. There's much uncertainty in the world. There are tech teams, businesses, research teams thinking about Hong Kong. We should move fast. We should get them to come here. In terms of capital, talent, and other forms of support, we need the support in place. Once the opportunity slips, it won't come back. So let's turn Hong Kong into an IT center. I so submit. Dr. Kennedy Wong. The budget this year proposes a range of measures, some long-term, others short-term. The measures meet the needs of Hong Kong. We need to balance our books. Support measures include those for INT, resources for the Northern Metropolis. The measures lay the foundation for our industries. Under the BUD Fund and also the SME Support Fund, an extra $1.5 billion will be made available. That's to support businesses to go global and strengthen Hong Kong's role as an international trading center. We welcome these measures. We face changes of a magnitude unseen in a century. So we also have to be mindful of these conditions. I'm an NPC deputy. I attended the 2 sessions in March. I listened to a speech by President Xi Jinping. He mentioned self-reliance in technology and also nurturing our own talent. That means education plays a role. Competition in the future will be a competition over talent. That means education. Given the complex and volatile external environment, Hong Kong needs to stand out. For that, we will need competitive and creative talent. The mainland produced DeepSeek and other forms of technology, and that transformed the global landscape. That really impressed everywhere else in the world. Our universities should train people like that, like the kind that launched DeepSeek. So we should not cut back on resources for universities. Instead, we should be doubling down on such resources. I declare an interest. I'm a member of the board with the Hong Kong Baptist University. The budget proposes a 2% cut to funding for universities, and that's down $2.6 billion. The financial secretary said this cut is in line with the cuts to the government's own recurrent expenditure. But funding for universities is not the same as government recurrent expenditure. Another member just said you should never skimp on education, no matter how hard the times are. So let's be mindful of the unique needs of universities. We should give universities more funding instead so that we can invest more in training and nurturing talent. And that's to support the national policy which focuses on talent. Others may wonder, we don't want cut here, we don't want cut there. How do we fix the deficit? So let's look at some figures. In 2024, look at the major economies, debt to GDP ratio. In Japan, that ratio is more than 200%. In Singapore, the ratio was more than 175%. In the US, 120%. In the UK, 102%. In Hong Kong, our rate stood at below 10%. So our rate is below that of other advanced economies. Now, given our bond issuance plans, in 2025 to 26, our debt to GDP ratio will go up. Still, even with a higher ratio, we will be below the global average. Now we are facing major global economic challenges. Running a deficit is common among governments. Issuing bonds is necessary. What matters is our bond proceeds are well spent. Our country's government work report has set an example. This year, the Premier's work report argues we need proactive financial policies. The deficit of our country will go up to 4% of GDP. There are dedicated bonds and super long-term sovereign bonds. The proceeds will go into strategic emerging industries, low-altitude economy, commercial aeronautics, and also the resources will go into the future industries, biotechnology, quantum technology, embodied AI, and 6G technology. Our country will also drive the transformation of conventional industries such as new energy technologies, smart robots, etc. Our country has been increasing the funding for research as a share of GDP. It has been going up. For fundamental research, that share has risen to 9%. Over here in Hong Kong, research makes up just about 1.2% of our GDP. So that shows we are behind the curve. We have unique, special, and extraordinary geopolitical conditions, so we have to look to the future. We should deliver what our country needs. We should double down on investment in education and nurturing talent so that we can cope with future challenges. The budget should not be focusing on just 1 year or 2 years. Instead, we should get our direction right and take a longer-term view. The US launched a tariff war, and that seriously disrupts the normal global order in global trade. For us to strengthen our role as an international financial and trading hub, we will need a greater effort in reform. We need strategic thinking. Let's support our businesses, especially small and medium enterprises, to overcome obstacles. I'm from the import and export sector. I have been calling for an all-in-one platform for import and export. Let's use big data, blockchain, and data analytics for this platform. We need a platform for global trade management so that we can have smart clearance of importing goods. Let's use digital technology to achieve alignment of our system with those of our country. Let's offer integrated clearance services for trading and logistics. We should also look beyond just the GBA. We should also look at the Yangtze River Delta. Let's create this supply chain involving Southeast Asia and also the Middle East. Let's speed up the integration of different segments. Let's also focus on insurance and financing so that Hong Kong becomes a trading hub. This is a major undertaking. The government should give special support. We have the trade single window. The HKTDC also has its own platform, so let's add features to our platform so that we move closer to that goal. As we take a more long-term view, we leverage our strengths, we deliver what our country needs, we invest in the long term. And when everyone in Hong Kong works together, we will find the bright path forward. As Seoul Summit, I support the Appropriation Bill.
Mr. Louis Long. President, since the 26th of February, the delivery of the budget by the Financial Secretary, it's been 2 months' time. The geopolitical and economic landscape internationally have been changed substantially. We're faced with an unprecedented trade war. The Hong Kong IMA has been working with the banking sector to improve the measures to support SMEs, but we don't know how long this trade war will last. That's why we need long-term support for the business sector. I hope that the government will work with the business, trade, and the banking sectors to reach a win-win financing solutions so that we can ride out the storm together. Please don't tighten our help. We have rolled out some measures for the development of the Northern Metropolis. These have strengthened the confidence of the market. The real estate associations that I represent have submitted a proposal to the Development Bureau on the development of Northern Metropolis. The NM is a major driver for development of Hong Kong. Every stakeholders want to contribute to the development so that we can start seeing results early. The Secretary for Development said that they will keep an open mind by considering different premium payment models. I think that we should allow, say, installment payment for premium. This has been a suggestion put forward by the trade. Now, the government said that they would consider it. The trade definitely welcomes it. I think that we should take a step even further. The government should take a more flexible and pragmatic attitude to look into land premium and land exchange arrangements so that we can leverage on market forces. By this, the government can save on land resumption costs. In the budget, the Financial Secretary said that they will adjust the Hong Shi Kiu Ha Chun commercial sites, and they will extend the application period for in-situ land exchange. I support the government's changes in response to the market request. But I think that we should take another step further. The government should introduce wide development in the Northern Metropolis to allow applicants to be innovative in their planning. By this, we can allow the developers to work with enterprises who are going to set up their presence in the Northern Metropolis so that we can cope with ever-changing market demand and to work with the long-term development of the INT sector. The CE and NC approved the Northern Link Main Line project, and this is a major step for the development of the Northern Metropolis. Infrastructure, transport infrastructure is crucial. However, many infrastructures such as road, water supplies, district cooling systems have not been completed in the Northern Metropolis. When the developers have built the mains and without water supplies, how do we encourage people to move in? I think that the government should be more flexible. They should allow developers a longer time to construct their buildings. They should be allowed to start their construction only when the infrastructures are ready. The Financial Secretary said that they have set aside enough land for the development of public and private housing. I am encouraged by that, but I think that we should take a step further. The Real Estate Association participated in the consultation for Scenting Technopole OZP, and we have given our suggestions. I think that we should review the public and private housing ratio. We should increase the supply of private housing to meet the demand of local and foreign talents who are going to work in the Scenting Technopole, so that we will not see supply and demand imbalance again. The government said that they will dedicate more resources to work with the trade to enhance training for construction workers. They're working with the mainland authorities to enhance the capacities and quality of the construction sector. I definitely support it. But for Northern Metropolis and for the entire territory, we have to lower our construction costs for the development of our city. I think that we should take a three-pronged approach. First, we should reduce our reliance on foreign imported materials. We should enhance collaboration and put in place a mutual recognition of testing and certification of materials so that we can import materials from the mainland. We should increase the usage of mainland materials in our infrastructures. Our national standards are reliable so that we can better control our cost. Second, I think that the government should remove the restrictions on private construction projects regarding the importation scheme. We should remove the restrictions on certain jobs. We should allow the imported workers to go with the developers. We should relax the workplace restrictions, and we should dispense with the requirements of a median wage for developers. Third, we must be innovative in the development of a Northern Metropolis. We should establish a high-level cross-bureau interdepartmental steering group to oversee the construction progress. We should have interdepartmental collaboration to shorten approval process to make sure that the relevant officers will be able to resolve any issues in time. If we can adopt all of these three measures, then we will be able to enhance our competitiveness by lowering our construction cost. Given our fiscal deficit, the Financial Secretary said that they will control the government expenditure strictly while creating new sources of revenue. They will try to reduce the impact caused to the people. I support this principle, but for the long-term benefit of our city, we should take a step further. The government adopt these progressive rates on private property. The effectiveness is limited, but this has tarnished our brand of a low and simple tax regime. Some countries launched a trade war that harm not only its own benefits but that of the other countries and places. We must adhere to a low and simple tax regime. I think that the government should look into the progressive rates approach and review the market response to it, as well as the revenue that it generates. I think that we should do away with the relevant scheme if it's not effective. I so speak in support of the Appropriation Bill 2025. Mr. Tony Chair. Thank you, President. G19, well, my party has proposed 8 suggestions to the government so that they can cut expenditure and diversify our economy so that we can better cope with the volatile external environment. Apart from cutting recurrent expenditure, the government asked public organizations also to cut their expenditure and claw back funding from seed capital. And we should also regulate illegal betting. I am glad that many of our suggestions have been adopted by the Financial Secretary. We're going to cut 1,000 positions within the government, and there will be a pay freeze for the civil servants. But I think that by cutting establishment, that's not enough. More importantly, we must enhance the efficiency of our civil servants so that we can use less manpower and resources to offer better and more service to the people. Just now, Mrs. Regina Ipps talked about this. 2 years ago, I asked the government to reform the civil service structure, including the pay increment approach. We should incentivize high-performing civil servants and punish those who are underperforming. Over the past 5 years, only 65 civil servants have their pay increment stopped because of their worst performance, only 13 every year. I also asked the government to provide me with the appraisal information of civil servants. Is it the case that most civil servants are rated A? The government said that they don't have the relevant data. I think that the relevant information shows that the entire appraisal and management systems of civil service has room for improvement. We must make good use of resources and enhance efficiency. Apart from civil servants, statutory and public organizations should enhance their efficiency as well. The expenditure of salary of public organizations is more than what we spend on civil servants. I've been asking the government to establish an efficiency working group comprising experts from different sectors. We should review the performance and cost effectiveness of the work of our public organizations. Should we dismiss some organizations? I hope that the Financial Secretary will look into it. President, we should try to cut expenditure to strike a fiscal balance. We must reduce waste, and we should ask those who can afford to pay more. The biggest 3 recurrent expenditure are healthcare, welfare, and education. Over the past 10 years, the expenditure on these 3 areas have increased by 60% to 100%. We must control our expenditure on these 3 areas. The medical fees and charges reform has commenced, and this is what the G19 has been advocating for. Most people focus on the increase in fees, but the focus of the reform is to enhance protection for those in need so that we can better cope with the aging population. The A&E fees have been increased. This is to shorten the waiting time. The extra revenue generated will be spent on patients. The key is that we should enhance the nighttime clinic services and primary health care. We will also enhance our support for those who are in need so that the grassroots people and the middle class won't go into poverty just because of their illness. The government should also cut other expenditure. We should create new sources of revenue. We should dismiss some schools and raise the tuition for universities. We have canceled the one-off student grant of $2,500. This is to allow us to better target students in need. Now, in terms of welfare, our policies are not targeted enough. Many of them haven't had regard to the actual situation in the society, so we should reform our welfare policies. President, in recent years, the government has been trying to leverage on market forces, capital, professional knowledge, and talents so that we can build more housing and implement livelihood-related facilities. In the land sale conditions, the government asked the developers to build welfare, healthcare facilities, roads, and other infrastructures. The government have rolled out many PPP projects. They asked the developers to build public housing and certain infrastructures. But before we leverage on market forces, we must know the market well. But some government officials don't really know how the market operates. They're not aware of the latest market situation. When they process the relevant applications, they focus too much on regulation and monitoring, protecting the interests of the government. They ignore the challenges faced by potential participants and applicants. As a result, the schemes proposed by the government have seen no interest from the market. The $20 billion that we have set aside to purchase premises for welfare and social facilities, only 1% of the approved funding has been spent. President, I'm not targeting SWDs or LWB. Other government bureaus and departments have made the same mistakes. We have seen failed tenders for many projects. The project on multi-story buildings for modern industries have been delayed, and we have abandoned, say, the municipal solid waste charging schemes. These show that the government does not really understand what the community wants. Of course, we've seen some good examples. For example, the Housing Bureau offer guided tours for their public housing. This enhances potential applicants' understanding of the scheme. The Development Bureau have launched 3 pilot areas and invited EOIs from the market on the 3 areas in the northern metropolis for island hopping tourism and eco-recreation hub. I hope that the government will listen to the market and share the risk with the participants. I hope that the government will charge premium on a profit-sharing basis. We should not continue to rely on premium for revenue. President, U.S. has launched a trade war against our country and Hong Kong. As Director Xia Baolong said, this is a bullying act, and this is unreasonable and shameless. Their goal is to undermine the great rejuvenation of our nation and sabotage the stability of our city. I believe that the estimates that we've made in the budget will be affected by the trade war. Business and individuals will be faced with challenges. Under this landscape, we must stay united. We must have confidence in the future of our city and our country. We must leverage on our unique strengths, better seize opportunities brought by our country's development so that our economy can take flight again. I so speak in support of the Appropriation Bill 2025.
Mr. Stephen Ho. Thank you, President. I rise to speak in support of the budget. After the government has delivered the budget, we've had numerous discussions in this council and in the community, and on the whole there is general support. We need to invest in the future, but I have this take. In terms of supporting SMEs and reviewing fees and charges, I think that the administration has failed to manage risks and manage expectations. So on this front, I think the government should do more. The government should explain the policies better. There should also be more efforts to explain policies in a palatable way. Now, against the current backdrop, when there are interference of external forces, and like Dr. Junis Ho said, the U.S. has decided to raise tariff to over 200%. Now, our country has a tactic. Over the years, our country has placed more emphasis on domestic consumption and the circulation strategy, and this is the situation we're in. Now, the U.S. has decided to impose a reciprocal tariff on us, despite our Hong Kong being a zero tariff region. So that is why we need to take forward the important matters, that is integrating into the country's development. Now the government has proposed to charge $200 of boundary construction tax. Now, I find it very peculiar. According to the government officials' rationale, they'd like to ask users who can afford to pay more, as well as upholding the principle of users' pay. Now, following this rationale, I think it's not entirely right for a private car driver to pay $200 to cross the boundary. We have 2,000 lorries transporting fresh produce across the border to Hong Kong. We also have tourist coaches. Why aren't they exempted? What about members of the public who are users of the BCPs? Why aren't they exempted? Why are you only targeting private car drivers? According to media reports, the rationale is that if you're able to drive your own car, then you have high consumption power. However, I've been told that there are many people who have applied for the approval under the northbound scheme, and that they've paid for examination of their cars, intermediaries, insurance, etc. And 3 or 4 years on, they are now charged this extra fee. Now, perhaps they only go not that often, maybe once a month, and that if you impose this fee, they'd rather not go. So I have a question about the expected revenue of $1 billion. Another example is tobacco duty. It will be raised as a deterrent for smokers. But according to data, the smoking prevalence rate dropped only from slightly over 9% to slightly over 9%. But meanwhile, revenue from tobacco duty dropped by $900 million. And that means smokers have turned to illicit cigarettes instead. You need to make sure by raising tobacco duty, you are indeed able to raise revenue by the amount you set out. Now, coming back to the point about cross-boundary transport, say I'd like to ask my counterpart in Zhuhai to come over for a meeting, and that in the future there may be some bickerings over where this meeting should take place because of the proposed boundary facilities fee for private cars. So that's how it's made out in the budget. I know that something must be done. You cannot just backtrack. On to another point, say other relief measures such as tax breaks and offering some extra payment to social welfare recipients. We didn't expect the government to give such a largesse, but then this is really a shock. Members have faced a lot of pressure from the public. Coming back to what Mr. Tony Chair said, the civil service establishment will be reduced by 10,000 posts. But what's the actual impact? You should weed out incompetent staff, and comparing to that exercise, this reduction of 1% is not substantial. You should peg the exercise to the performance of staff, and I don't think the government is doing the gatekeeping. So instead of having internal appraisal reviews, you should conduct random checks to see if the officer being appraised really deserve an A. For those who shouldn't be promoted, who don't deserve a promotion, they shouldn't be promoted. So that's about gatekeeping. Third point, coming back to my constituency, the agriculture and fisheries sector. In this year's budget, little has been mentioned about about our sector. We aren't given a big allocation, except that a multi-story facility will be provided for the A&F sector. That means we need to come together to build a multi-story livestock farm. Let's say if I am a pig husbandry permit holder, then am I able to operate on such a big scale? Am I able to keep 40,000 pigs, for example? What about ex gratia payment? If I get ex gratia allowance instead, I may be able to invest in the multi-story livestock farm. There are different infrastructure projects in the new territories. They have different development timetables. For each pig farm, the operators may get their compensation at different stages. So let's say if we are to build this multi-story livestock farm at a cost of say $600–700 million, I need to be compensated now and not later. So if you want to drive the development of this industry, you can't take the most straightforward approach, because instead of intensive outdoor farm, we should move our operations in a multi-story building so as not to affect the environment. That means we should improve drainage, etc. Now the government has this development plan for Yunnan South in the pipeline, but then we're not sure about the timetable. Now, if we're entitled to ex gratia allowance under the compensation mechanism, then before it's formally disbursed, at some point we should be allowed to borrow that sum first, so that, say, in 2026–27, if I want to invest in a multi-story state-of-the-art livestock farm, I can then take out a loan from the government, so that a fund can be set up to allow farmers to take out loans to improve the environment. So just on Northern Metropolis alone, if the government stays put, then one pig farmer may withdraw from the market because of injury or because of lack of funds, and it will not be a success. Last point about marinas. This is highlighted in the budget. In the eyes of the public, marinas are always something of a luxury, only for the wealthy. So if you allow the public to use the marinas, there aren't many benefits. At least fishermen won't be able to use the marinas for berthing. So a new model should be adopted. say fishermen should make use of the latest technology. They should be able to operate a yacht, and then the marinas should be open for public use. And then these yacht club operators will still be able to make a profit. Next, Mr. Johnny. Thank you, President. I think the Financial Secretary has delivered an acceptable budget. He's seeking progress whilst maintaining stability. He has responded to the current challenges facing us. It also meets the objective of laying a good foundation for the future long-term development of Hong Kong. The the budget is a blueprint for the economic development of Hong Kong, especially when we're still in the face of economic recovery. I'd like to make 3 points on the budget. On promoting economic development, I suggested that the government remove red tape and obstacles to promote industrial development so as to bring impetus to the economy. I'm happy to see that the Financial Secretary has accepted my views, and that in terms of upgrading and transforming industries, the second policy statement on virtual assets will be published soon. According to the Financial Secretary, the government will look into innovative breakthroughs between traditional financial services and virtual asset development. And then there will also be a consultation exercise on virtual asset development, virtual asset over-the-counter regulatory regime. As for artificial intelligence, this year's budget proposes that AI should be included as a major driver for the new quality productive forces development. Now, we should make use of new technologies to help traditional industries upgrade and transform. With the current political tensions tightening and the U.S.'s efforts in imposing tariffs around the world, inevitably a trade war has been declared, and this affects our economy. And against this backdrop, we must continue to find new growth points and enhance our competitiveness. The trade war may very well be evolved into financial war around the world. This could also be our opportunity. We need to develop Web3. I believe that Web3 will be a growth point for our economy. It's also the way forward. Now, I think the budget is spot on in this regard. The government also shows commitment in developing AI and virtual assets, and all these will bring new opportunities for our economy and our commercial sector, so that in terms of R&T development, we can stay in the lead, and that we can bolster our status as an international trade center, and we can also help our country in grasping opportunities and stay in the lead. Well, recently we successfully held the Consensus Hong Kong, and 2 days ago we held the World Internet Conference Asian Summit. These are major events. Over 10,000 practitioners and leaders from over 8 countries have gathered in Hong Kong to witness the development of new technologies such as Web3, digital assets, etc. They also witnessed the advantages of one country, two systems in Hong Kong, and our importance in being a gateway for our countries to be connected to the world. And the Financial Secretary has approved funding of $50 million, and together with the ITIB and Digital Policy Office, they will carry out the relevant work with an allocation of $47.5 million. That means they will nurture talent and mount publicity. Now, at the moment, the balance of the funding stands at some $2.5 million. Without additional financial support, there is uncertainty for this emerging industry. I hope that the government will provide more funding support. Now, on fiscal management, members of the public are concerned about the deficit and how civil service establishment spending may be cut in 2024-25. The expenditure stood at $163.7 billion, and for remuneration and pension, etc., together with other benefits such as MPF contributions, housing, medical, dental benefits, etc. This is a huge sum. In order to address the deficit, there have been calls from the community for the pay to be slashed, but I think that apart from pay cuts, we should also consider at a macro level adjustments to the civil service establishment, and that means we should redeploy manpower and enhance efficiency. There should be a comprehensive assessment on the civil service establishment. Targets should be set to streamline workflow and trim the fat so as to deliver public services efficiently. I'm happy to learn from the Financial Secretary that he will strictly contain the growth of government expenditure. In 2026-27 and 27-28, the civil service establishment expenditure will be slashed by 2% respectively, and within this term of government, it is expected that 10,000 posts will be reduced. In order to enhance the efficiency of public services, the government has also heeded our suggestion, and that is enhancing the digital literacy of civil servants, and that the Civil Service College will also enhance their training courses in this regard. I believe that this is a response to the community's calls. Another suggestion is that the government should review the fees and charges and see whether they are pegged to market rates. The government should also carefully consider the public's affordability and the situations of different trades and industries, and that the user pay principle should be adopted in adjusting fees. Now, some members of the public may not understand fully the government's rationale. These fees are very high in their mind. The government should explain the policies better. I also propose to the government to look into new betting items for sports in order to curb bookmaking and also to promote the development of sports as an industry in Hong Kong. Now, I'm happy to learn that the Financial Secretary has taken this on board and that the government will explore the idea of basketball betting by the Hong Kong Jockey Club so as to combat bookmaking. This is a way of tapping new revenue stream. We have entered a new phase from stability to prosperity. This budget contains measures to stimulate the economy. There are also longer-term measures to promote industrial development, and it's in the right direction. I support the Appropriation Bill 2025.
主席
Mr. Frankie Yik. President, for the budget this year, I thank the Financial Secretary for adopting many ideas from the Liberal Party. This means the tax concessions for those in the ship business and also tax exemptions for green methanol bunkering. These measures will help bring people in the maritime business to come here, and that will strengthen our maritime industry. And this will in turn strengthen our role as a global shipping center. The U.S. tariffs are having an impact. In 2024, our cargo throughput fell from the 2023 level. We were out of the top 10 busiest ports. The U.S. started the tariffs war, and this can go on for a while. There will be a blow to our shipping industry. To help our shipping industry navigate this challenge, we have to find new sources of cargoes. The Liberal Party supports efforts to find cargoes, and that includes measures such as the logistics park in Dongguan and also efforts to do intermodal transshipment. We have also taken a stake in the Zhuhai Airport, so we should make good use of this initiative to achieve flying via Zhuhai, Hong Kong. And let's also explore and tap the Western Guangdong market. We need streamlined customs clearance. We can even do joint inspection and collaborative customs, collaborative clearance. Now, on cross-boundary vehicle drivers, the Liberal Party would like to see the granting of driver's licenses. We would like to see greater ease in obtaining such licenses. In 2024, Hong Kong came first in terms of the busiest cargo ports. We were at 4.94 million tons, and we did better over the years. The third runway system was in place last year, so let's make the most of it. We should enter into more civil aviation agreements with more places, such as the 150 places with potential along the Belt and Road Initiative. Let's expand our network of civil aviation partners. And let's also help the mainland C919 jet enter the international aviation market. We can turn Hong Kong into the first aircraft part and component trading center. To make that happen, we need talent. The Liberal Party has been saying that we're short of mechanics who can repair cars, ships, and planes. So we have been calling for enhancements to the general employment policy and the talent admission schemes. Let's bring in the talent so that those industries can hire workers and that can ease this acute shortage of mechanics. On boosting revenue, the government proposed reviewing tolls and also fees, including fees for parking meters. We have a deficit. We want cost recovery. So higher fees may be inevitable, especially for fees or tolls that have not been adjusted for many years, such as the Aberdeen Tunnel and the Shingwun Tunnel. In 2023 and 24, we saw deficits of $60 million and $52 million for those two tunnels. Well, let's minimize the impact on commercial vehicles with toll rises. Now, we changed the tolls for the 3 harbor crossings, and that affected minibuses. Many red minibuses had to cease operation. The higher tolls can be passed on to passengers through higher fares, but businesses are losing riders. So, as we adjust tolls, let's bear in mind that we should put public transport first. Let's not massively increase the tolls for public transport. The government has proposed a boundary facilities fee. Cross-boundary coaches will be exempted. That's good, because that will not add to the operation cost of those transport options. We're exempting cross-boundary coaches and lorries. We should also exempt cross-boundary commercial vehicles with permits because they are part of public transport. We should treat them with equality. Now, on fixed penalty tickets, that has been a long-standing problem. The government has a multi-pronged approach to increase parking spaces. Still, for every 100 such vehicles, there are only 6 parking spaces. The short-term tenancies on which short-term car parks are being run have now reverted to the government. Those short-term tenancies have ended and the land becomes parks. And that adds to the shortage of parking spaces for commercial vehicles. Before we fix the shortage of parking spaces and we raise the fines, that's not fair to car owners. We have the carbon neutrality goal by 2050. The government is promoting green transport. On land, we promote electric vehicles for private cars. The government has also set aside hundreds of millions of dollars for purchasing electric buses and also electric taxis. The government has also launched a pilot scheme for green new energy minibuses and street cleaning cars, vehicles. Now, for the shipping industry, they have started liquefied natural gas bunkering. We're now preparing for green methanol bunkering for ocean-going vessels. But we are moving slowly for local vessels. Now, we are funding the ferries of 4 operators for electric ferries and recharging facilities. Last year's policy address only mentioned the use of biodiesel, but green energy is the wave of the future. Without policy support, local vessels will not switch to green fuel. We have the 2050 net zero goal. That means the government needs to talk to the local shipping industry and set out a roadmap for switching to green fuel. We have tariffs and a trade war. Some industries have already entered a very challenging stage. SMEs are struggling with cash flow. The HKMA announced last week a flexible approach to loans for companies. We welcome that. We have economic uncertainty at this point. We have a fiscal deficit. We cannot waive or reduce too many fees, but at least let us not launch any measures that will add to the costs for SMEs. I also submit that support the appropriation bill. Mr. Benson Look. President, I thank the Financial Secretary for this pragmatic budget in these difficult times. The FS has adopted many ideas from the BPA. We have global economic uncertainty, and we have more problems. We also have the fanatical behavior from the US going against the trend of globalization. The so-called tariffs from the US have led to delays and cancellation of orders. Our local exporters have yet to collect their payment, and that adds to cash flow problems. Businesses are struggling to pay their workers and buy raw materials. The BPA has been trying to help businesses to access credit to navigate the short-term challenges from tariffs. We need flexible arrangement, compassionate arrangement for some businesses. We need flexibility and grace periods for businesses struggling to pay. Let's give flexibility to businesses. We need longer repayment windows for SMEs to help them. With a complex economic environment, the budget proposes many measures to contain costs and raise revenue. On containing cost, there's a pay freeze for the civil service, the judiciary, and district councillors. This is the right way to go, and this is in line with public expectations. 10,000 posts will be deleted from the civil service establishment. This should be linked to the cuts to departmental expenditures. The civil service should do better, and we should improve the government's efficiency. I also call on statutory and subvented organizations to follow the pay freeze so that we ride out the tough times together. Different bureaus and departments have found ways to cut their expenditure. Now, take education, 70% of our expenditure. The 8 UGC universities are asked to hand back $4 billion in total to the government. In the next triennium, there will be a cut to the funding for the 8 UGC-funded universities. We can only work with what we have. The steps we're taking can make sure the resources go to where they're most needed. In September this year, we will axe the student grant of $2,500, a scheme that has already been regularized. That's a blow to parents. especially for candidates sitting the DSE exam. Their examination fees will not be paid for by the government. So with the grant gone and the waiver gone, that means an extra $6,000 in expenditure for parents and students. I hope the government can pledge that once public finances improve, we can bring back the $2,500 student grant. Starting from the 1st of October this year, we will also raise the air passenger departure tax from $125 to $200, and that will bring $1.6 billion in extra revenue. Some worry that this will affect short-haul flights from budget airlines. People worry that you will take less by charging more. So the government has responded. The government decided to grant an exemption for transit passengers leaving the following day. We want travelers to have an easier time adapting to the new arrangement. So let's take a phased approach and an incremental approach to this increase in the air passenger departure tax. And when public finances improve, can we revisit this item and adjust this fee? Now, young people's priorities are close to my heart. We dropped the cooling measures for properties, and this year we are also applying the $100 stamp duty rate to flats up to $4 million. That's good for the property market, and that makes it easier for young people to buy their home. The lower stamp duty rate makes it cheaper to buy a home. That makes it easier to get on the housing ladder, and now owning becomes more attractive than renting. Take Kowloon Bay, a 380 square meter flat valued at $3.8 million. This flat used to be subject to a 1.5% stamp duty, meaning $60,000. And that's equivalent to the income of a young couple. Now this couple will simply have to pay $100 in the stamp duty. They can take out a 70% or 90% mortgage. Owning will be cheaper than renting. That will be attractive to young people already with a down payment ready. Now, there is also more trading up in the property market. Some developers are rolling out more smaller flats. We're foregoing $400 million with this measure, but we are invigorating the property market, and that's good. Now I turn to mega events and sports. The budget has something on mega events and making good use of the waterfront. The BPA and I believe we have the great outdoors, we have excellent country parks. We should promote tourism along these lines. Sports plus tourism is something to consider. We have great hiking trails, we have great coastlines. Let's make the most of it. Over weekends, there are different marathons. Thousands of people can take part. Marathon is now part of a new trend in tourism around the world. Let's repackage these events. We get tourists to come here to take part in our local marathons. So we will have more people spending the night here, and there will be more people spending in Hong Kong. In February, we held the Standard Chartered Marathon. That was a success. 15,000 people from out of town came here for the marathon. And when one person took part in the race, they brought their families as well. And that meant business for local shops. So we can turn a spectator into a participant for sport plus tourism, and that will mean more people staying the night in Hong Kong. Kai-Tak Sports Park opened last month. Let's make use of it. Can we replan the route of this Standard Chartered Marathon? Can we put our own marathon within the world's top 10, and that will bring more tourists? So we will have one more world-class mega event. Hong Kong used to be known as the shopping paradise. We can also turn Hong Kong into a marathon paradise, and that will mean much revenue for our coffers, and that will be a great asset we have, and that will enhance our reputation. I so submit I support the Appropriation Bill 2025. I now suspend the council, and we will resume at 9 a.m. tomorrow.